Comparison is the thief of joy. Think about it. Comparison is the thief of joy. So if we want to walk through our lives in a joyous state, but we find ourselves often comparing ourselves, our situations, our relationships, where we live, what we're doing for fun, what our families are like, etc. Is it possible then to actually go through our lives feeling joy? Is it possible for us to go through our lives? Well, here's the deal. I feel like comparison or those thoughts to come up rather than, and this isn't actually even my idea, I got this elsewhere, but rather than spending a lot of time thinking about what we have versus what other people have, stepping into that state of gratitude and just being grateful for where we are currently, and also recognize that we're all human, right? So if you're finding yourself in a state of envy or feeling a little bit jealous or whatever the thing is, right? What's the one thing you can do to actually help yourself move through that? One, it's nurture your body. So your body and your mind has healthier thoughts that come to it naturally and automatically. That's step one. That's why we meet here in the morning with the intention of taking the time to be able to go through our planner, to connect with the things that we're grateful for, to really dial into the beliefs, the affirmations about ourselves, about who we are and what it is that we're working to and strive to. And then also using those signals as just that, signals. So if you're finding yourself, like I said, envious, jealous, whatever the feelings are, observe those thoughts because they're probably telling you something, right? So if you break down our thoughts, which most of the time it's something like 60% of the thoughts that we think every day are negative, designed to keep us alive and safe. But if we break down the thoughts that we typically have, there's usually a source point. Like one of the strategies and empowering strategies that I would challenge you to really consider adopting into your day-to-day is when those little things come up for you, whatever those little things are, but when those little things come up, negative thought, a negative feeling, a trigger, something that makes you, not feel good, what are those thoughts? Because if you pause for a moment and you really start to unpack and rewind and go backwards with what it is that actually led to the feeling or the emotion that you have, and you unpack it and rewind, you can usually find a source point thought that was actually the trigger. And then the key is that even true? Because a lot of times we think things, and quite frankly, they're just not true, right? It's whatever's going on in our brains that are coming up with these ideas that are sourced in projection, are sourced in comparison, right? Are sourced in coming up with, I'll tell you one thing, we are being conditioned all the time in our lives by everything that's going on around us, right? The movies, the TVs, the books that we put in our brains, that is conditioning us to react, to respond, and to think in certain ways. So if you're somebody who watches a lot of drama TV, a lot of soap operas and this type of thing, be aware to what degree you're being programmed to respond how those people on those shows are responding, right? Desperate Housewives and a lot of these shows, yeah, they're entertaining. I've never watched it, but it's entertaining to people. That's why it's a success. And it's certainly on some level relatable. Otherwise, people wouldn't watch it. Or maybe it's so outlandish that that's why people watch it. I don't really know, right? But it's relatable enough that people watch it. And as people are watching it, writers make that stuff up for a reason because they need viewers. So if you're somebody who is constantly putting that into your brain, does it make you a bad person? Absolutely not, right? Just be mindful of some of the language that gets used, the comparison, always comparing he, she, this, that, and the other. the response and the reactiveness, they're not meant to be highly mindful, conscious, socially aware, emotionally intelligent characters on those shows. They're meant to be reactive, emotional, dramatic, right? Irresponsible in a lot of ways, because it's what gets people to watch it. Otherwise, so if that's what you are inputting every single day into your subconscious, just be aware of how that might be showing up for you. And even, that's just one example of so much more, so many more examples. So as you're thinking about how you want to prepare yourself for your day, and as you're thinking about how you want to prime your mind in the morning to be able to truly get out there and get after it and tackle the day, bulletproof yourself from those individuals who may not be intentionally saying things who want to try to hurt you, to people who say things completely unintentionally that trigger something within you. And then that's the opportunity for the work. That's the opportunity for you to really start to get to know yourself. And Enneagrams, it's a tool I'll talk about a lot. It really speaks to our motivations and our desires as humans. In my experience, I have found that things that trigger me are actually the things that I are most strongly in alignment with or out of alignment with what I desire the most, which is freedom and autonomy and the ability to, do what I want with whomever I want, whenever I want, and have nobody tell me otherwise. Now, mind you, I love doing that with people. They don't have an attitude around it, and that is freedom, right? That doesn't mean we don't show up for people or do kind things. It just means that, certain things may make me feel stuck, where it may not make other people feel that way because they've got their own things, right? Enneagrams 2s can be kind of possessive over people, but man, they're like the best helpers in the world. So every personality has its best self version when their cup is very full. You know this because there's a chart, levels of health. Top 3 levels: healthy, average, and unhealthy. Many people live in average. I am so, at this point in my life, I've done so much personal work that I can identify exact moments when I shift from healthy states of gratitude, excitement, enthusiasm, or just, contentment, but in a full way, when my cup is full, to shifting into a more critical state. I can feel it. And I'm like, oh, I know. I got to go work out. I have to go, do something, because what I'm doing right now isn't actually working. And that's the point. And so if you can do the work, start adopting a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, where, as respectfully as I can say this, you know everything. Because the reality is the more you know, the more you don't know. And that's just couldn't be more true, right? So the more you actually get to know yourself, the more that you realize that there are all these very, very small, subtle pockets within ourselves, our thought processes, and we are kind of like a canvas, but like we have to erase a lot before we can start again, unfortunately, because we've been programmed by society, by our family. Where did they get programmed from? From their mothers, societies, and families, from their mothers, societies. And it's more or less these just generational trauma is a word that gets used a lot, but it's a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of fear, a lot of trauma from different generations that produce certain mindsets that get passed down and get passed down and get passed down. So as we prepare in the morning, like we are now, to prime our minds to get ourselves ready for the day, even though we're living right now at June 25th, 2026, we carry stuff from, 1926, where people were suffering from 1826, where people passed down and passed down and passed down and passed down. And now, we've got this time, space, and reality, and we are reacting out hundreds of years, thousands of years of programming. And so the key is to be more aware and intentional with the thoughts that we think, because thoughts become things, thoughts produce our realities, than we are anything else. And something I have noticed is that the healthier the body and mind, the healthier the thoughts. That's one hack. Another is, as those thoughts come up, being able to be very corrective quickly, to be like, oh, I can see that for what that is. Let me replace that with a better feeling thought. Let me replace that with a more empowering thought. Let me replace that with something that's going to really motivate me and challenge me to react, to want to engage with life in a way that I feel like I can overcome, be respectful in the moment. And this is a skill, and we are human. So we are always working on developing more and more skills, because again, it's the past that's been transferred onto us. And if we want to change so that our world around us can change, all we have to do is change. But change is hard. Otherwise, people would do it more often and more frequently. This idea that the brain is fully developed by about the age of 25, it's true, obviously, or at least they say it is. And if that is true, how do we actually more or less penetrate the subconscious and get into that? Well, this is when we have to do these when in a meditative state, when just waking up, when situations, to be able to get into the subconscious. I'm bringing back, in fact, I was going to be doing it this morning, but a fob doesn't work, to the pool, laps of affirmations, just affirming within the self the thoughts that I want and need to believe to be able to go into my next level. This has worked in the past. I believe it will work now. Why? Because it is programming during a meditative, highly repetitive state of swimming laps, and those thoughts reprogram some of the subconscious thoughts that I may have that are working against me. Remember, our goal is to rewrite a story, and to rewrite the story means that we have to rewrite the thoughts, which produce the actions, which produce the habits, which becomes our character and our destiny, right? And so watch your thoughts, because they become this is the quote, and it's amazing, and it's so true. So your thoughts become your actions, become your habits, become your character, become your destiny. So if we can start with our thoughts and producing healthy thoughts, not comparing ourselves to others, focusing on our situation, what we truly want, not just what we think we want or that we think we should want, or that our partners want for us or our kids want for us. What we truly want. There's a balance. There's a healthy relationship where everyone can win. But when we focus on those thoughts and we're doing the work, and it starts in the beginning of the day, imagine all that you've done to get to where you are right now. And now imagine if we do things slightly different to be able to program the subconscious mind to be able to get us into the next chapter of where we want to go. How quickly could that happen if we really just focus on the one thing that was the roots of all else? Let's see, right? Sometimes it feels like it can take years to manifest the next chapter. Sometimes that can happen a lot quicker. Typically, when our thoughts, feelings, emotions align, we're able to move mountains much quicker. So it starts with the thoughts. So for today's session, I want you to go ahead, grab a pen, grab a paper, and start just writing out some of those thoughts that come to your mind often. Just spend time with yourself. What are the limiting beliefs, the limiting thoughts being just, or beliefs being just thoughts you think over and over again, that are actually holding you back from where you want to go? Spend some time with yourself. Write those out, because when you've identified that, that's when you can change. All right. Remember, my friends, your life is your journey, your choice. Enjoy your journaling session. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams and live the life you imagine. I will see you next for our goal setting session. Have a wonderful day.